So something I told Martin today in our talks um, reminded me of it was an uncomfortable story at the time. Today it just feels kind of sad, but you might find it amusing. I don't know. So I told Martin, I mean, I've had maids for most of my life as a child, and then there was a brief period no, and then, when I had a family, we had a maid who I loved like a family member, Sandra. I haven't seen her now for years, and she got, she was, I'm not sure she's still alive, is basically it. And she was amazing. She would come. We didn't have her every day or anything. It was like every other week, basically. She would come in and do some deep cleaning, and she was amazing, hardworking, from El Salvador, and lovely, wonderful, adoring, just a wonderful person, and really was part of our family. Um, anyway, but I'm remembering this story. We went to see, this is before we built our house. We went to see Hearst Castle in Southern California. And if you have never been to Hearst Castle, that's a place to go. I'm picky, but that place was amazing. And so we went with our kids. They were young at the time, and we were with this we were with a group of people on a tour, and I don't know, the guide said something about, we were in one of the guest house, one of the many amazing guest houses, and the guide said something about making your bed, and then just to make the point, I guess, looked at my daughter and said something about, can you imagine, uh, a maid making your bed, every day, or something like that, and my daughter just innocently says, "Oh, Sandra makes our beds when she comes." Yeah, and but I don't usually make my bed otherwise because my mom doesn't care. But like when Sandra comes, she makes our beds. And Ben and I look at each other and we're like, well, "This is a little embarrassing." And the crowds were like, "Oh, okay, you're that kind of family." But I will say about Hearst Castle, it was such an inspiration to me. Um, because it was such a obvious fulfillment of this man's vision, right? I mean, it was just every room was special, filled with all this different kinds of art, mostly ancient art or medieval art, but the whole house, the whole land, the whole everything was just a creative tour de force. Um, and it really sparked, I think, why I ended up choosing for us to build our own home from scratch. Now, it wasn't anything like the Hearst Castle. It was, because that's not my vision. It was a modern prefab, actually, and I think it was the first one in Lafayette. Because we managed to get past, it was hard, but we managed to get past a lot of bureaucratic hurdles because they just didn't know what was hitting them. I doubt there's any others because I don't think our bureaucracy likes these prefab houses if they can avoid them. But ours is gorgeous. Ours is the most beautiful house I've ever been in, and I built it, and it's just beautiful. And so I'm a theater producer and director. And so I kind of brought that ethos into the collaboration with the architect, who is Michelle Kaufman. She's kind of a famous prefab architect, and we had so much fun. Her and me and Joe, who was kind of her second in command, just designing, this gorgeous house. And from my perspective, I brought like a theater perspective to it, thinking, okay, so what do we do in the kitchen? What do we want to do in the kitchen? What kind of time do we want to spend with each other in the kitchen? What do we do in it's called the breezeway, which is like just basically an open space with doors that open on each side. How do we want to use this wide open space to bring our family closer, to entertain, so I kind of brought like a theater perspective to every room. Like what action is going to be taking place in this space, and how do I want to facilitate that action with the design of the house. And it was a gorgeous house. And I threw so many parties and events there for my community, for the school, for my religious community. And it was like super quick. Like to set up for an event because of how I designed this house, it was like, 5 minutes basically. Just throw out some plates, open the doors, throw some things behind the cushions or whatever. So it was really easy to throw these amazing parties at my house, to bring people together because that was important to me. And then my ex-husband just stole it from me. He threatened me and menaced me secretly, and he just stole it. It's worth about probably $5 million now. And where am I? Look where I am. I would not have built that house if I didn't think I was protected by California 50/50 laws, right? I just wouldn't have built it because why would I risk my money? But as it turns out, that's a fraud. That's a fraud we're being sold. We are not protected by 50/50 laws. Maybe if you can afford a lawyer on your own, or I don't know. But I mean, I see on TikTok, again, that's where we're getting our direct information. All these mothers and wives who still leave their husband because no one will be enslaved. No one wants to be enslaved, right? I'd rather be dead. So they still leave their marriage, but now they're homeless with their kids because no one is enforcing the laws that we got married under. That's called fraud.